ThePetri here, and today I will be talking about 4-star rated champion, Jhin, who is also one of the funniest. If you would enjoy the video afterwards, you can subscribe to my channel and watch other of my videos. Well, let's get into him. If you're new, this is the part where I talk about runes. Let's start it off with this alt and now mostly used in harder lanes, precision tree. You want to take fleet footwork because all the others are not useful on Jhin, and it allows you to trade better and be mobile at the start of the time and position yourself as you need. Then you will want to take presence of mind because you will use a lot of mana. If you think that you don't need it, you can go for triumph, but I would recommend presence of mind every time. Next is gonna be Bloodline because Alacrity gives you a lot of the Alacrity doesn't give you value, unlike and Tenacity is useless, so Bloodline it is. And also your auto attacks will heal you for a lot, thanks to their high damage. Next you wanna take Coup de Grace because cut down is not useful in bot line, and last stand you're not gonna use it anytime soon if Jhin is gonna be existing like he is now. So Coup de Grace it is. For secondary tree, you can go either typical sorcerer with Nibus and Gathering Storm, allowing you to move even faster and be relevant in late game. Or you can go for another typical route with Boots and Biscuits. Though I would recommend the sorcery tree more because it is a lot better. And for smaller runes, you will always want to take uh, 2 adaptive force, and defense will be armor or magic resist depending on matchup. Now let's move to the more interesting build. So here you will have Dark Harvest as your rune, which will allow you to destroy anyone with your ultimate because every time you hit them, you will deal that additional damage, and if you are able to hit your shots, it will work very well. Also, if there's a fight you can get to and you hit your W, you still proc your Dark Harvest and are able to deal a lot of damage together with CC. Next is gonna be Taste of Blood because it's probably the best option since you have no use of sudden impact, and cheap shot is really only good in early game, and this helps you trade better, even though it's, two only better. You get the point. Next is gonna be Eyeball Collection because it gives you most damage, and last depends on you. I usually go for Ravenous Hunter so I can be alive a bit longer in team fights. If you think that you don't need that, you can go for Ultimate Hunter, but Ravenous Hunter is better in my opinion. And for secondary, you will want to take Precision for that mana and again healing. Of course, you can always replace it with the Sorcerer tree again, but I find the Precision tree really useful on Jhin. Also, instead of Bloodline, you can take Coup de Grace if you think that you won't need that much healing. And for small runes, again, to Adaptive Force and defense depending on matchup. That's gonna be everything, and I'll see you in game with everything else. Okay, let's start with your summoners. You always wanna go for Flash, and then most of the time you wanna take Heal. Unless you would go with, let's say, Yume, which usually takes 2 offensive attackers, summoner spells. Then you can probably go for Exhaust if she will take heal instead of you. It depends on communication. But unless then, heal is great for you since it increases your speed, everything heal does.
Minions have spawned.
So, let's have a look at items. You always want to start with Durance Blade and Health Potion. Durance Blade since you have quite okay starting health, so Cal doesn't really benefit you. And yeah, Durance Blade is ADC's first and last call. After that, you and here it depends on the rune build you're going. If you go for Fleet Footwork, I would recommend you going for Gale Force, which thanks to the dash gives you some mobility, which you never will have without it, and also it increases your speed. So you will move faster, and I guess your damage will be a bit increased, but that's not the point you're getting Gale Force. It allows you to reposition, escape, and thanks to the missiles that deals that damage, your fourth shot can guarantee a kill. After that, you can go and finish off normally with, well, let's go slowly. If you wouldn't go for Gale Force and Fleet Footwork, you can instead on Dark Harvest take Eclipse, which works awesomely on Jhin, since you gain a shield if when you hit single champion with two abilities or attacks, which is easy since when you hit someone with your W, you usually are close enough to run to them in the short time and auto attack them,
My
or
performance
just Q.
begins.
Then you, after one of these two, there's I guess no good option. You want to get your Boots of Swiftness, which again gives you increased speed in combat, and you know, Berserker Greaves don't work on Jhin because he has almost nothing out of attack speed. After this, it can vary. I personally, I just love the Collector, so I go for it. It helps you finishing off with your 4th shot ultimate. It's a nice thing, and thanks to lethality you have from Eclipse, you should be able to get it soon. But you can go it on uh, Gale Force 2. After that, I usually start building up the crit since it increases your damage a lot. So you can probably try to go and get Infinity Edge, but since it's really costly and at this stage of the game you just want to push your advantage if you have one or get back, I would probably go for I'd probably go for Stormriser because it is a lot cheaper and that energized attack will give you even more utility than you will already have.
The storm is in their hearts.
And
I calm them.
then again, depends. You can try to go for Infinity Edge as your 5th item, but it's on you. So let's say that you would get Infinity as your last item. If there's a lot of assassins and you know that you have someone who can protect you, you can go for Guardian Angel. Or instead take some anti-healing or armor, what is it called? Armor penetration. Whew. And yes, I guess that's gonna
Gold
be your
is my
full
power
build.
color.
Now, to your abilities. So,
I can't live without you.
we'll start with the passive. So, obviously, I was talking about it quite a lot, but just to repeat. Tack. So, Jhin has 4 shots, you can see it under his mana bar. So, every time you use your free shots, your fortress is empowered and has guaranteed critical strike. Also, it deals damage according to, right now it is, I think, yeah, 25% missing health. That's on higher levels. At the start it's, I think, 15. So it deals a lot of damage. Also, every time you deal a critical strike, it deals less damage, but you gain, right now it's 16% movement speed, also increases with levels. And your movement speed and critical strike chance increase your attack damage. So more critical strike chance, movement speed you have, the higher increase it is. Right now, as you can see, I have 600 AD, which is quite insane. And that's basically passive. You want to farm very safely, because when you have to go into
Their
your reload
habits
animation,
are potent, and
it
fragrance.
takes quite some time before you can shoot again. So that's why Jhin is quite hard to play, because you have to think about every shot you make. If you make one wrong call, it can lose you a team fight. And yeah, as I was saying, every time you hit a uh, oh my god, every time you hit a critical strike, you gain movement speed. So if you would go for Gale Force instead of Eclipse, you would be quite higher, of course. But thing is that you would be moving really fast almost all the time. Like, as you can see, it's quite insane. The simple move speed you get from it. But I was talking about it quite a lot and it's getting uninteresting, so let's move on. Your Q. It's a point and click ability, and every time you hit a champion enemy with it, it bounces off to up to 4 targets. If this is a thing, if the target that was hit would die before the shot lands on another target, its damage is increased by 35%. So what you wanna do is, first off, it's great for farming early in the game. You can get first 3 melee minions low and then finish them off with this. But when you're, for example, again in the laning phase and melee minions are gone, you can try to get at least one, maybe two caster minions, and then with the empowered Q you can hit champions and deal them quite nice damage. There's not much to say. Thing is, if the target is in the range when the Q hits, it will follow them everywhere. So let's say that this here would be a real champion and would move away. If he would be close enough when the Q hit this damage, he would still get targeted. It would take a long time because it's quite a slow shot once it bounces, but it would still get him. And that's gonna be, I guess, everything. It has quite a low cooldown and high damage, so you wanna max it and upgrade it first. Then we have your W. It is a really long range skill shot, as you can see on the minimap. And what it does, first of it basically deals damage to an enemy after a short while. But the deal about this ability is that every time enemy would get damaged by you or your allies, he would get
When
this
they fly you,
circle
they will
around them.
cry.
And then, if you hit them with your W, it roots them. So that makes Jin's quite a good ADC, since he has, well, 3 of his abilities have some form of CC. So Jhin can basically stop anyone who's trying to run away or engage on him. Unless it's champion like Zed, which, by the way, if you don't have it on your team, I would most time don't care about engaging supports and things like this. Just try to ban assassins, since they can get you low extremely quickly and kill you. With if they are mobile assassins, of course. Which you get a point. So you hit them, W them, and they can move for 1.5 seconds, in which your team can easily kill them. Oh, it's 2 seconds. It's actually scaling. Well, doesn't matter. It is just a long range route. And also, every time you hit it, you also gain your passive movement speed buff. So you can chase them easily. Now we got your E. First off, passively, every time you kill an enemy, they will create... Well, okay. So it's a trap. I will talk about the passive later. And every time enemy steps on this, it doesn't have to be champion, it... Okay, actually... It sets off, and after, I think, 2 seconds, it detonates, dealing quite high magic damage. It is a great thing. It's quite easy to dodge the damage, since it takes 2 seconds to this. But every unit inside of the circle, which is quite large, is slowed. And next thing is that it procs your W before it deals the damage. So you can set it, enemy steps on it, you W them, they're rooted inside, and then you hit them with 1000 damage from a single trap. And since they were rooted and now they are slowed, you can easily get them with your
Turret plating
ultimate
will
and Q.
fall soon.
You can try to use this proactively in a fight. So let's say you have some hard CC champion like Leona. She would root this guy right here. If I would be close enough, I would put this up. She would stun him. I would root him, and in the early game, they're just gone. If you're able to finish off with your passive, forward shot, and things like this, it's it's just awesome. I kinda like this ability, since you can use it also in a laning phase. You wanna have someone you in case someone would be around, but you wanna most of the time just put them in the river and be protected from the jungler. If you're on a Drake, you can of course set them in the entrances from enemy
Very
jungle.
simple. When I shoot,
So
they dance.
when they try to come at you, they're slowed, you can root them and get the Drake easily. I also quite like putting the trap right here, since one trap can protect almost this whole area, and you know that they can't go at you, at least if you're playing on blue side. On red, I put it here every time because there's there is a chance that jungler will come through river, but most of the time blue side junglers come through this dry brush. And now let's have a look at Jin's ultimate. So again, as you can see, quite large range, even higher than on your W. And what it does is that you will get this cone. When you use the cone, you can shoot again 4 shots, revealing everything inside and dealing damage to enemy champions. It also deals damage to every unit it passes through, but every time it hits a champion, the shot is stopped. What you wanna do with this is you don't want, you can try to engage with it from a distance and slow enemies down, since it slows for 80% on level 3. I like level 3 on your ultimate. But most of the time you just wanna use it after a team fight. If someone is trying to escape, you just
Happiness
use your
is
R,
good.
slow them down, and you deal also you deal increasing damage with their missing health, which is probably the first thing I should have said. But like, as you can see, if they're low enough, you deal 13,000 damage. So that's nice. And for a shot, just like your passive, deals double the damage and strikes critically. So Jhin is, in my opinion, extremely fun champion. When you put something nice up, it looks extremely cool. You have high slow on your E, high slow on your ultimate, root on your W, execute damage on your passive and ultimate, team destroying abilities like you, which just bounces off everyone, while let's say that you have uh, some quite area of damage champions. They are dealing this, you get your Q, you put down your E, you can root one of them, and if they
Art
are
must
still
exist
alive
beyond reason.
and try to run away, you just give them 4 80% slows. So Jhin is quite fun, quite hard because you have to know what you're doing, and yes, you usually, if I would go right here, wanna train with your ultimate, since it can be quite hard to hit. But as you can see, you can the uh, damage registration is quite thin. So you can try to, because every time you use it, enemies just trying to block the
Death
damage
should
for
never
their
be
low
quick.
health allies.
It should be an opera.
Unless they are low too, which, well, doesn't matter. They are trying to block. So unless they are perfectly lined up, you can try to hit them, and it will have massive damage. I achieved something like this in the Jhin gameplay I posted, so I will link this. But it is quite... When you do something as a Jhin, it's extremely rewarding. That's what I want to say. So for your laning phase, you basically, if your jungler wants help, you just wanna get your 4 shots off and then run to your line. And in line, you wanna get your Q, unless there was an you or enemy were invading. Mostly if you are invading, you can just try to get your W first, and when enemies come or are trying to escape, you just throw them for another duration and you have CC. But you will have your Q 90% of the time. Mostly because many players just get into game and level up their first ability in the spawn. And yeah, you wanna, as I was saying, you wanna use your traps to be protected, your Q to have easier laning phase, and every time your support hits an enemy champion who is probably gonna be squishy like many champions in bot lane, you just wanna root them and finish them off. Also, I should mention that though you are extremely strong in the early game, you have a constant attack speed. Like, it increases a bit, but you can't get it up with attack speed items. So in the late game, if you use your abilities right, you can one-shot enemy ADC. But if you go against some hyper carry like Ashe or Jinx, they usually have some healing on them. So when you hit your first shot, you can get them to half their health. But
You make this fresh.
since they have all that healing, they can slowly heal it up while dealing damage to you. So you have to push your advantage while you have it. Because in the late game, you can still deal a large amount of damage, but it's very hard for you to 1v1 someone, apart from supports. So always try to stay with your team and train with your ultimate, W, and know your predictions. And I believe that's gonna be everything. So until next time, Petri out.